how to set up a meeting and share the URL with students. So downloading the Zoom app, and once you have downloaded it, opening it up in your navigation panel, or head to the Zoom logo in your toolbar if you've got a Mac, and you can open it up from there. So this is the main panel that you've probably all seen before from setting up a Zoom meeting. So I'm just going to talk about the different options and functions that you have on here. So when we press schedule a meeting, you can create the topic, adjust the date, make it reoccurring if you have a weekly lesson. For the meeting ID, you can generate a unique ID automatically, or you can use your personal meeting ID. Now, your personal meeting ID is like your telephone number, which gives people access to you. I recommend, and what I'm doing for my lessons, is that I'm just using my personal meeting ID for all my lessons. Students know how to get to me and don't have to find another number for every other lesson. Just keeps it simple. In terms of password, we're suggesting that you don't have password setting on, just to make it more accessible for students. For video, so this is whether or not you want video turned on for hosts or participants. You can set that here, but then you can also change this once you're in the meeting. For audio, so I've selected here from telephone and computer audio, because people can telephone into the calls if they want to, but we don't really expect that to be happening within these sessions. And if you are expecting someone to telephone in, just edit the dial in so that it's from the UK. You can also connect to third-party audio within the sessions. So this is if you're using any different kind of software and hardware for the audio. For calendar, so this gives you an option for syncing with your iCal or the calendar type. So every time I set up a meeting, it instantly downloads it and syncs it with my iCal. In terms of the advanced options, so you can enable the waiting room. You may have been in a waiting room before. Digitally, it's very much the same as a traditional waiting room space, in that it's a side space where people can gather before you let them into the room, and then you manually have to let them enter. For the function enable join before host, so if someone tries to join your meeting before you're actually there, it will just be a pop-up box saying that you're not there yet. If you expect yourself to be late and want students to be able to chat in the space before you get there, you can enable join before host, and then they can interact with one another before you enter the room. To mute participants on entry, again, you can select this function. You can also change this within the meeting if you decide that you want to keep everybody muted and not let them unmute themselves. In terms of authorized users for joining in, this is just an extra security measure, not one that we necessarily really have to turn on unless we feel there's any kind of particular threat within a lesson, which we don't really feel that would be the case. As mentioned in the previous session, we don't really want to automatically record meetings because we want to get student consent before we start them. In terms of alternative hosts, so if you put one of your colleagues into here, they have the authority to start a lesson on your behalf. So if you don't want students to join before you, but you want the option for a co-host to start the lesson, then you can select that into there. In terms of other functions, so if we see the panel at the top, which I've circled in the turquoise there, so we're going to have a look at the meetings list. So this is all your scheduled meetings, and you can look at upcoming and look at past recordings. So for the actual listing, once you click on it, you can start the meeting from there, copy the invitation, see the meeting ID, edit the settings, delete the meeting if appropriate, or join from your room. So if you show the meeting invite details, there's a lot of information there, but the one bit that we're interested in is the join the meeting Zoom URL. Now the Zoom URL is always bim.zoom.us/j for join, / and then your meeting ID. And so if you're using the same user ID at all times, then it's always going to be the same URL. So mine is bim.zoom.us/j/288 and so forth. It just means that you don't have to continue popping into the meeting to copy the URL if you can remember what yours is off by heart. So once you have that URL, I'd recommend, if you're going to be using the same one throughout the term, pasting it and highlighting it in the box at the top where you've informed the students the details of how their lessons will be changing moving forward. I also recommend putting in within each of the weeks that you're delivering lessons as well. Just